Hi, everyone. So we're going to start our session today. Okay. Can you hear me well? Yes.
Yes,
Okay. So thanks for being here so early morning for Region 9. But, when we are working through the sections, the regions, we have this kind of time difficult, but I hope this is going to work out. We are recording the session, so if you want to watch a little bit later, no problem. And, well, first of all, my name is Moira. I'm the Region 9 PS SYP Vice Chair, and today I would like to, on behalf of IEEE PS Northeast Brazil Section, the IEEE Federal University of Bahia Student Branch Chapter, and also from the PS Region 9 SYP, I would like to give you a warmly welcome to you all. In our special session for today, it's Empowering Energy Transitions, Leadership for Smarter Grids and Cleaner Cities. We are truly honored to have your presence here and to discuss this topic that is one of the most important topics of nowadays. So clean energy, sustainable cities, and also the role of young professionals in shaping the future. It's now my pleasure to introduce our distinguished speaker, Shreenithi. She's award winner energy engineer specializing in decarbonation and clean energy systems. With an impactful project across both the US and India, she serves in a key roles in IEEE, including the IEEE Young Professionals Climate and Sustainability Task Force. She's also a United Nations Fellow and has spoken global platforms such as Young Forum, New York Climate Week, and IEEE Grid Ad. So today, she will be sharing her insights on how innovation, policy, and technology can change energy scenario and build a cleaner and more equitable cities. So please join me in giving a warm virtual welcome to Shanti, and it's your time.
Thank you so much, Moira. And thanks everyone again for joining. I know it's earlier on a Saturday morning, so I really appreciate you all being here with us today. Um, and I'm truly honored to be joining you on this IEEE session, specifically thanking Moira, Matthews, and the entire Region 9 team for organizing this incredible session. A little bit of introduction. Moira had already spoken about this. My name is Shreenithi Lakshmi Narasimhan, and I come from a background in electrical and energy engineering, working in sectors spanning from clean energy, climate resilience, and sustainable cities across both US and India. I also serve on some of the leadership roles within IEEE and beyond. And I look forward to talking to you all about the role and leadership in that we all can play in energy transition, especially how we as young professionals can really shape smarter grids and cleaner cities. And I'd like to start with a simple question. And throughout this webinar, I'd like for you guys to keep going back to this question, and I'll answer what my perspective on this is as well. So, what do we think of when we think of the interconnection between energy transition, smart grids, and cleaner cities? Right. That's the question we'll keep going back to throughout the webinar. So the big picture here, why does it really matter? And like Moira really mentioned, it's very timely, and it's one of the most important issues of today. Grids, energy, and cities, they're deeply connected. The energy transition isn't just about swapping coal or a non-renewable resource with solar or renewable energy resource, right? It's about how our entire system of living, how we power our homes, how it moves through our streets, and how we design our buildings. This can evolve to be more just, resilient, and sustainable. Cities today are home to more than half of the world's population. And a quick stat, they consume more than two-thirds of the global energy and are responsible for 70% of all the carbon emissions in the globe. At the same time, on the other hand, they are also where most of the innovation and opportunity and community engagement thrive as well. So, if we want a livable city, future cities, we this is where we have to concentrate on the energy transition, and this is exactly where it needs to land. And now, asking the bigger question, what does a smarter grid look like? When we talk about smarter grids, we are really talking about modern day energy networks that can adapt to the changing needs and demands. Grids are digital, decentralized, and demand positive, and this is what smart grids really look like for now and for the future. A smart grid can tell when and where to send the power based on real-time data. It can balance rooftop solar or any other form of renewable energy generation with demands from electric vehicles or modern day loads. It can prevent outages during storms and make sure no one is left in the dark during peak demand. And I will share a few of our examples that I have recently been dealing with or projects that I've been working on to kind of draw parallels to these abstract examples that I've just given. But again, it's not just about tech. A smarter grid also reflects smarter values. It prioritizes inclusion, resilience, and sustainability. And that brings us to the human side of energy, that is leadership. So, what can youth leadership look like in this transition? And where do we as young professionals come in, right? I believe that we are already leading the change across IEEE and far beyond. I've seen youth building AI models for energy forecast or forecasting demand in informal settlements, deploying off-grid energy solutions in refugee camps, and co-authoring energy policy papers and recommendations for national governments and beyond. We are not waiting for permissions to lead. We are already doing it through open source tools, local partnerships, and policy engagements. We are already helping shape some of the most equitable parts of the energy future that we are looking at. Like I promised, I said I'd share a few examples from urban to off-grid that I have personally been working on, but a few of my colleagues have as well. I might have mentioned this. I am based out of New York City, currently reporting from Chennai, India, though. But in New York, I work with teams analyzing building energy data to identify neighborhoods in which there are high energy burdens. What that means is places where low-income families spend a disproportionately large amount or large sum of money based on their income to keep lights in their homes. Through this data-informed planning and targeted upgrades, we were able to propose more equitable retrofit solutions, and this has also been scaled beyond New York. One other side of the spectrum is rural part of India that I've supported rural solar microgrid design for schools, clinics, and beyond. These projects bring not just light, but also safety, economic opportunity, and time, especially for women and children and the underrepresented community itself. Whether it's a high-rise in Manhattan or a village clinic in Tamil Nadu, the leadership lessons are the same. Listen first, then build. Of course, we do have challenges, and I do want to discuss that a little bit as well while we have the time. Despite all the progress, energy systems still that we shape to date have challenges, everything from input and beyond. And a few critical gaps that I have noticed so far is the technology and its inclusive in its exclusivity in nature. Many of these smart grid solutions or smarter building solutions are mostly inaccessible to communities that need them the most, being one of them. And the other is just data being, not so open source, or not being able to utilize those data in cities that can't plan equitably or efficiently. The other side is voices that aren't heard. Young engineers, local leaders, women, and frontline communities are often left out from the decision-making rooms. And of course, it's evolving and a changing landscape in itself. But leadership is leadership in this space, and momentum means intentionally designing for these communities, listening to these voices, and that really matters. Um, Rethinking leadership in energy, right? So, what does leadership in energy transition mean to us? Again, it's not just about being the smartest person in the room, or in this case, the virtual room. It's about being the most connected to the people, to the purpose, the place. And, it's about asking the right questions, right? Who are we building these systems for? uh, we speak about just energy transitions so much, and so we have to ask these questions of whose voices are missing here. What does success look like for projects or for these communities? And not just in the sense of grids, but the communities that it's powering. Leadership is creating space, not just solutions, and we should definitely keep that in mind as we progress as well. Now, I always like to bring this aspect of what can IEEE members do, or as us as IEEE do, and I really go back to a few of the things that I reached out to when I joined IEEE a decade ago, which is mentorship. Right, like mentoring generously, either receiving or giving mentorship, sharing your knowledge with students, especially those from underserved regions or backgrounds, and empowering those students and community members, contributing to standards. Another very important part of IEEE is the body in itself is so committed to developing such incredible standards. Us as young professionals, we can come in and become the technical backbone of IEEE, and be part of working groups that prioritize equity and sustainability, and eventually contribute to standards. The other aspect of it is push for open data. I had a very recent conversation with a colleague where we talk about how we take this raw data and put it in an open source website or format where it's accessible to everybody. It was regarding air data, but it also applies to other forms of data. Advocate for data transparency and community ownership in smart grid planning is also a big part of it. Apart from this, also get involved in PES and climate subcommittees that also target these specific problems that are really close to you. Finally, tell your story, share your project, your ideas, questions. The energy sector needs more authentic and grounded voices, like all of you in this room, and especially from emerging young leaders. So yes, let me come back to the question that I had asked at the start of the session. What do we think of when we think of interconnectivity between energy transition, smart grids, and cleaner cities, right? So to me, what it means is a city where everyone, not just the wealthy, has access to clean, reliable, and affordable power. A grid that's not just smart, but also fair. A generation of engineers who lead with empathy, humility, and purpose. It's not just possible, it's already happening, and everyone, including myself in this virtual room, has a part to play. And again, I want to leave you all with one thought. And that is, leadership is not a title, it's a commitment, and it's a commitment to show up, to speak out, and to shape systems that serve not just markets, but humanity. Let's keep building smarter grids, cleaner cities, better lives. And thank you so much again for listening so early on a Saturday morning. I appreciate you all being here.
Thanks. Guys, do you have any question to Shreenithi? I think I would like to start. I know that you are very experienced in the task force climate and sustainability from young professionals, and I would like to know if someone wants to join the 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 task force, what they have to do to get in, and what kind of work are you guys developing for the IEEE community?
Absolutely. So within the IEEE Climate and Subcommittee, Climate and Sustainability Subcommittee, we are focused on, it's a broader umbrella of sustainability, and what we focus on is across various verticals, from entrepreneurship to very specific internal IEEE involvement, to building out projects, to advisory, partnership with various organizations such as the United Nations, for example. There are other organizations that we deal with on a very regular basis that focus on renewable energy, such as International Renewable Energy Agency, International Energy Agency, to name a few, World Health Organization, World Meteorological Organization. So all of these, partnership efforts also mean we have, spin-off projects from those partnerships, either policy efforts or, energy projects that we mentor, or have a collaborative authorship with. So yeah, the opportunities are endless, and are what you make of it. And like I mentioned, entrepreneurship is a new, spin-off wing of the subcommittee itself, that we are just, encouraging young budding entrepreneurs to join, that we are also mentoring. Yeah, to name a few, those are the efforts that we are currently engaged in. And I think it was a two-part question, Moira. Part two is, how do we get into that task force, or like how do we contribute to that task force? And I think to answer that question, all of us, have that shared passion for sustainability. I think that's where we all start. And I think there is an application process that you tend to go through. It's usually approximately 25% cohort per year. But I will certainly share the link to that application, and anybody on this call can apply, and there is a selection process, and go through an interview, and we can take you on board. Yeah, we will be able to onboard you.
Thanks. We have one more question here in the chat from Mateus, and he's asking, how can technical chapters contribute to the task force, especially PES, like student and professional chapters?
Absolutely. I think there are a few different ways I can think of right now. And again, it's all proposal based. We are always open to collaboration. And what that means is we can put up, outreach programs, specifically target, student branches, and maybe do a series of workshops or an educational set of programs. But also we can talk about, doing projects together, utilizing their technical expertise in renewable energy and sustainability and net zero projects, working together on such solutions. Again, depends on the expertise that the person or the committee is coming in with, but the possibilities are endless, and we can absolutely have this collaborative conversation later.
Perfect. There is one person here asking, where can we find the link to subscribe in the task force?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll share the link shortly here in our chat. Just give me a few minutes. But if you type IEEE Climate and Sustainability Subcommittee, it usually shows the recruitment platform. So let me share that shortly here with you in a second. Yeah.
Okay, while you take the link, would like to just comment that the Climate and Sustainability Task Force has a community, actually has a membership. It's for free, so you can join and receive newsletter and everything about climate and sustainability in IEEE. Um, okay, so when you share the link, we have more questions here.
I am so sorry. I'm still trying to find the link. If I'm not able to find it here, I will be sure to pass it on to the attendees here through
Okay.
Moira and our team after the call.
No problem. So let's go to the next question. Ana Beatriz is asking how to empower energy transition discussions in our local communities. Is a thing that usually people talk in bigger spheres. So it's not sometimes not so close to us, students and young professionals in our local community. We just talk about it when we go to big events and with a lot of important people. So she would like to know how to empower this discussion in our university, in our community.
I think that's a great question. I don't even think you need to go to the universities to start having these conversations. It's the transition starts at home, right? Again, I've had these conversations with not just my community, but also, you know, as close as it's as close knit as my own building. So every house in New York City invariably has gas associated with it for cooking, for HVAC, and other purposes. So how do you move away from natural gas for all of these needs to electricity? I think that's part of the transition. When you talk about moving out of using non-renewable sources of energy, you're doing your part, and again, there are so many different types of technologies and associated incentives from the government that you can tap into to employ those technologies even for your own home. And of course, then extend it as a part of your exercise, or even like a rolling conversation with your immediate community, or even your relatives, or it can kind of go into a conversation with your university, maybe do an initial exercise on what that really means for the university. But you start at home. That transition starts at home. Of course, you can also continue to volunteer with, again, communities within IEEE, where we are already focused on just energy transition. A lot of these subcommittees are focused on that, so you could probably reach out to them as well and volunteer on that side. But again, I go back to the transition starting from your own home.
Perfect. That's good. Just to tell you guys a little bit about our certificates. So we are sharing in the chat the attendance list. And if you want a certificate, just fill the form, okay? Heading to our next question, Lucas is asking, what chapter mechanism, websites, or resources you use from your IEEE inside your career, your professional career?
Great questions. For me, I have been very heavily involved with IEEE for the past, say, 10 years on and off. And I started while I was a student. Of course, within the student chapter in India is where my inception was. And then I got into the PES society. Then, of course, I was very familiar with the YP as well. And within these, of course, there is the IEEE Smart Village program that I had mentioned, that we do a lot of the projects around raising renewable energy work for underrepresented communities across the globe. So there is IEEE Smart Village. There is the IEEE Smart Cities that I'm still getting my feet wet with. But Many of these have been, my been the verticals that I've been heavily involved in and volunteered with, and have had some incredible connections come out of.
Amazing. We have another question from Nakinato, and he's asking, what is the greatest difficult for task force to contribute to society and global industry?
Yeah, again, another great question. With respect to the task force, I think with respect to any mechanism for that matter, when it's a global entity, you tend to have like an inertia between organizations, coming together to solve a specific problem. Although they're on the same page, it's usually harder for that, like independent organizations as mechanisms, to come together to form a solution, and that comes from collaborating and advocating so voraciously that that you get past that form of inertia. But I have seen that to be a single source of um, issue while working with or reaching out to other community members. Hopefully that answers your question.
I think it did. Tana is asking another question. It's kind of unrelated but important. How do you get to focus on energy transition trend topics in order for one to publish recent problems to improve research profile? That's kind of tricky.
How do you get to focus on energy transition trend topics? I think instead of following what's trending, if we focus on where the most important or the most underserved part of the problem is, I think we might, be able to spin off into many, many solutions in that sense. But Tendo, if you want to go the route of what's trending in the sense what's pressing right now, I think there is an energy transition aspect that comes from climate crisis that I had mentioned earlier, right? Like when you talk about wildfires, or when you talk about storms that are constantly causing, blackouts in regions, including Brazil, actually, which happened very recently, but also across the US, I'm seeing this as an issue. So how can energy transition really come in and be a subject, an underlying subject for this issue specifically, right? Like, how can communities seek shelter? How can community displaced that are being displaced seek refuge when it comes to climate resilience angle? So that might be another area that you want to look into. But again, if that's what you mean by trend, I hope that helps.
I think it helps. Matheus is asking, give your recent graduates some tips on what skills will be interesting for the future, like taking into account important topics such energy, environment, and sustainability.
Such interesting questions. I'm loving this session so far. Um, but to answer your question, Matthews, it's always important to understand how you model your or where you start. I think so. Modeling parts of energy modeling, demand system response modeling, or how, for example, for example, like a grid react, like how do you react, how do you model a grid's reaction to a specific sort of a problem. Again, for example, some of the climate related events that have been happening around the globe recently, how do you kind of model those, and how do you find solution to such abrupt problems. So I think we're going to see, unfortunately, more of these. So understanding demand response, understanding how do you move to resilient buildings? So energy resilient buildings. How do you move to net zero energy? How do you move to net zero carbon buildings? How do you become carbon neutral when it comes to scope 1, scope 2, scope 3? Just educating yourself on all of these fronts, and also trying to understand what you like doing. Of course, you can learn all of these under this umbrella of sustainability, but what do you like to, or what are you passionate about, and what do you want to pursue, and kind of hone in on that aspect would really be helpful for young graduates that are just starting out. Hopefully that helps.
That's really helpful, I think, because sometimes people just keep thinking, oh, what I have to learn, like the technical part or the soft skills or something, but they don't stop to think what I like to do. And I think to do something in the best quality possible, that's the main point that you have to care about, right? Uh,
Absolutely.
so we have one more question from Marcio. He's asking what are the main economic, institutional, and infrastructure barriers prevent emerging countries from achieving a rapid and equitable energy transition? And why are these challenges disproportionately severe in these regions compared to developed economics?
Wonderful question again. Thank you so much, Marcio, for this question. I think one part of you know the barrier that that's preventing emerging or even like partially developed countries from rapidly transitioning to all renewables or move away from coal is hard. But we should also ask ourselves this question: are even the most developed nations really transitioning away from coal or other forms of non-renewable source of energy completely? The answer is no. I think we are still depending to a degree on our non-conventional, or sorry, conventional source of energy, and I think there is an angle of the economic and institutional solution that we are still like kind of behind on. But there's also a policy angle, right? Like we want to make sure that the governments are supporting this transition. We are also behind on understanding from an education standpoint. What does an energy transition entail, and how we can better equip our students or our emerging young leaders to better aid this transition. So it's of course a multi-part solution. Of course, there's a top down, but also like at a grassroots level, you want to start raising the bar, and raising our young leaders with that awareness of, okay, why do we need that energy transition right now? And also like a top-down approach from the institutions, from the government. Funding was a big aspect of it when it comes to energy transition at a building level. When we talk about moving away from gas, we have to look at technologies like heat pumps or electric cooking, and all of these mean to be able to be adapted into our homes in the developing nations, in the developing societies. It needs to come with some form of aid or some form of incentive. So there's both a bottom up and a top down approach that's needed to it. And I think even with and I think there is, of course, a disparity when it comes to both developing and developed countries. But I see that transition fortunately happening everywhere. Of course, like you rightly pointed out, the developing countries are taking a slower transition as opposed to the developed ones, but slowly but surely happening.
Yeah, that's it. Um, we don't have more questions for now. So I would like to ask everyone to open their webcam so we can take a picture of our session. So if you feel comfortable, please. It's great to see a lot of people here early in the morning. So let me just stop sharing my screen so we can see everyone. Okay, so I'm gonna count to three, okay? 1, 2, 3. Thanks, guys. Uh, does anyone have another question? No? You asked a lot today. Shreenithi, I would like to give you the word for you to give your final message and, I don't know, maybe invited us all to participate in a task force.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone. It was a pleasure and so many great questions. Truly enjoyed, hearing from many of you. Um, like I mentioned, the task force is really open to everybody's perspective. So we would love to have you on board to collaborate as well. So if you have any questions, of course, you can reach out to me. Hopefully, you have my email ID. My LinkedIn is posted as well, and I would love to hear from every single one of you. So yeah, I look forward to hearing more and expression of interests, and yeah, we'll take it from there.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your availability to be here today with us. And thank you to all of you to join us today. And please, let's continue to collaborate in drive innovation and works toward a more sustainable and equitable energy future. I think that's the goal for the world now. So that's it. Thank you, guys. I hope to see you soon. And thank you one more time, Trinity. Thank you. See you all.
Thank you so much.
Bye bye.
Bye.